must not go back to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry.
That help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it. It is not our abilities that show what we truly are. It is our choices.
Hey everyone, welcome to Hogwarts, a podcast. Hey everyone, we are back. Again, hope you enjoyed the relatively new intro that we have. I love it every time I hear it. Anna's back.
Hi.
Anna, what did you think of our break noise?
It was amazing.
Just like magic.
Oh my god, it made me so happy. It was a right Lockhart.
It's a wonderful, wonderful little break that we have. So hope you enjoyed that as well. But anyway, we are here to discuss Chapter 2, Dobby's Warning. So I'm just going to kick this thing off right away. Anna and I have very different ways of how to pronounce.
And I can't change. It just comes
It's hard
out.
for me to change as well. It's just how we kind of...
I say Dobby. It's how I read it my whole life as we read the series. I don't know. It's just what I read in my head when we first were reading these. And then the movies came out and I was like, what is that?
See, I was always Dobby, and then the movies confirmed what I had.
Yeah. So I'm probably
saw.
wrong, but I, at this point, I've been reading and saying Dobby for, over 20 years. Not gonna change now.
Let us know who's right and who's very, very wrong. Not that we're going to change anyway. There you go. Anyway, obviously, this chapter centers around a brand new character.
Oh, one of my favorites.
Yeah. This is another one of those characters that doesn't get shine like they should in the movies.
Oh, yes.
It's a very interesting intro. You almost want him to just be sitting on the bed and just say to Harry, you'll never have a friend like me.
Wow.
Thank you.
You went there.
I definitely did. So my first note on my outline is house elves, kind of like genies. They're kind of like genies.
What makes it even better is the recent discussion about how badly Robin Williams wanted in on the Harry Potter movie.
Oh, I would have loved it. I would have loved that.
Me too. Anyway, house elves as a genie. I will admit my very, very first reaction when I read that in your notes, I didn't like it. I didn't like that comparison. I don't know. It was just like a gut reaction. Maybe because, house elves feel like, they're just these adorable little enslaved creatures. And then the more I think about it, I just say that's what makes it,
a genie comparison.
Yes. But that's just not how I view Robin Williams and the genie. But, he is.
I mean, that's literally...
I know. It makes sense. I was just telling you my gut reaction.
I know. That's
You're
fine.
right. You're right.
I'm just going to take that clip out of Anna saying I'm right and just loop to that.
Treasure it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but obviously he's capable of magic. He got into the house. He's been stealing these letters. He can obviously produce a hover charm. So obviously he's adept at using magic.
Yes.
Comes very second nature to him. And that being said, he's obviously still bound in more ways than one. He's bound by the family that he works for. Yeah. Obviously. And he refers to that multiple times. Like, I've never been treated this way. I've been treated very poorly. Sometimes they encourage me to injure myself more, even if they don't know what I even did. They're like, awful. But also, he's kind of bound by this compulsion to injure himself.
It's horrible.
It's a really awful thing.
I do think it makes it such an awful form of slavery because there is, he makes it very clear that magic prevents any sort of escape for him. Like, he's having to injure himself even to come to Harry.
Right.
So there's no escaping from his family. So, yeah. I don't know where I was going.
As much as we have kind of mentioned Harry's way of life and how he's struggled for the first 11 years living under the Dursleys' household, obviously Dobby's kind of endured a whole other level of hell, essentially. We've talked about the child abuse that Harry's kind of gone through, and here I'm sure Dobby's suffered abuse under his owners, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah, he just always calls them his family.
Yeah.
Which
is strange. But he also abuses himself in a lot of different ways. Again, that compulsion, and there's a whole other reasoning for that, I guess. So we'll delve into the house elf thing in spoilers. Because
one thing that does stand out, just kind of hit me talking about, how both Harry and Dobby have lived through all these different types of traumas and stuff, that both of them still keep that kernel of, the whole reason for Dobby's visit is to try and protect Harry, a boy he's never met. And then it kind of struck me as I was reading it, this weird politeness that Harry has towards it. But, like, Dobby makes a big deal out of him, Harry inviting him to sit down. But, like, Harry is a 12-year-old boy who just walked into his bedroom and found this, like, creature he's never seen before just, like, hanging out. And, like, does he freak out? No. He's just worried about disrupting the Mason dinner and, like, being yelled at by Uncle Vernon. He's not freaked out by this magical creature he finds out in his room. He's still very nice and polite.
Do you think he's definitely freaked out if this happened book one, though?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
Before ghosts are part of his life.
He wasn't totally freaked out by Hagrid. But
Hagrid's still believable enough.
Yeah.
Ghosts are a different thing.
Yeah.
Ghosts would freak you out a little bit, and other, things, but obviously.
But anyway, my original point was just that both of them still have this kernel of kindness towards other creatures in the world, despite their shared traumas.
Yeah, and I at least Harry, I think, sees that in Dobby quite a bit.
Yeah.
Of, like, and I think he kind of alludes to it at some point. He's like, dude, don't you see what I have to, like, endure here?
Yes, he does.
Like, you have to understand why I can't be here.
Yeah. He even says, I don't belong here. I belong in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they do have that kind of connection early on.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Although, I don't think Harry does a very good job of understanding. Like, Dobby asserts himself, what his message is, why he's there, and then also immediately follows that up with injuring himself.
Yeah.
Or not caring about what the Dursleys think of this whole situation.
Yeah. Because
in Dobby's mind, that's exactly what he wants.
Right.
And Harry's very slow on this uptick of, like, if I say this, or this, Dobby's going to scream, Dobby's going to yell, Dobby's going to hit himself over the head with a lamp. This is...
Isn't that very Harry, though?
Well, 100%. Oh, very much so. But I'm just like, Harry, after, like, the third time he yelps or screams or hits himself with something, you should probably be figuring out what you can and can't say. And this is, again, where Hermione would be great. Or even Ron probably has some semblance of how house elves probably operate.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
One of them, whereas Harry's just so slow, and with each statement he utters, more and more disruptions occur, and it's like, Harry, my goodness, just shut up for once, or just say something different.
The Harry we all know and love.
I know, but it just caught me. I'm like, did you really need to say that in that specific way? Could you not have phrased that differently? Come on now. Whatever. And then I started getting secondhand anxiety from, like, Vernon's gonna know, man.
Oh my god, I kept waiting for Vernon to, like, come storming in and do something terrible.
Which is ridiculous, because I've read this chapter and I know everything that happens. But it's just like, I still get that secondhand anxiety of, like, shut up, he's gonna hear you. Whatever. It's a testament to her writing, I guess, to JK's writing. But no, that just stuck out to me. I'm like, Harry, dude, figure it out, man. But Dobby does know some things. You mentioned he has it in himself to go to Harry, a person he's never met, but he has heard of.
Yeah, he knows a lot.
He knows a lot.
Yeah, it's weird.
And not just about Harry. He knows a lot about, if he has knowledge of this thing, this danger at Hogwarts this year, he knows a lot.
Yeah.
So he's kind of...
makes you wonder who his family is.
It does. It 100% makes you wonder who his family is, and what they're up to, and what their motivations are, and what they've been scheming and planning, and all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, it is kind of interesting that Dobby knows a lot about Harry Potter, and a lot about what he's done.
Well,
and who he is. That
he knows where he lives, how he intercepted Ron and Hermione's letters. Like, that would be an interesting... And what did he need to know to be able to do that? And
he knows a lot about Dumbledore, too.
Yes. Yeah.
Which...
a lot of people know a lot about Dumbledore.
That's true. But if you remember that he's literally an enslaved being that's, I'm assuming, doesn't have exactly the newspapers to read or TV to watch or anything like that. But it does lead you to think, like... what conversations is this family having that he's clearly got an ear to the ground on and like picking up what they're talking about, which I really do want to talk about in the spoilers because I think it's a really fascinating thing to discuss.
Agreed.
It just makes you wonder, like, what conversations they're having about Dumbledore, what conversations they're having about Harry, given what we know about the family. So those are a couple of interesting things. And then Dobby promptly tries to ruin every advantage Harry has at the Dursleys.
Poor Harry.
Yeah, it's rough. So Dobby does this.
Poor Mrs. Mason. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, apparently Mrs. Mason does not fond of owls.
Yeah, like what trauma did she have that she's so deathly afraid of birds and not her owls? And now she's reliving that.
Can I go on a mini Dan rant right now?
Go for it.
So here's the thing: Dobby does this hover charm and drops pudding on, which is different than how us Americans know pudding. Putting that aside, so drops this pudding. Near them in the movie, it's on Mrs. Mason or Mr. Mason,
in the book, it's
but
on the floor.
It splashes up. Anyway, so there's this thing that happens, and the Ministry of Magic then sends a letter saying that you have now used magic, underage magic, in front of a Muggle that's not in your family or your close family or something like that. That's not what's worded. But it's...
I was going to say, do they bring up the fact that it's in front of...
Here's my rant.
Okay.
So, in this letter, they basically yell at Harry and condemn him for using underage magic in front of a Muggle. Yes?
No, it doesn't bring up the fact that it was done in front of a Muggle. It just says that he did underage magic. The only thing
according
that
to the statute
of
secrecy or something
is that it puts at risk
the statute of secrecy.
Not magical, yeah.
Yeah. Which essentially is magic in front of a Muggle, right?
Yeah, obviously.
So, yeah.
Exposure of the community.
Right. So here's my thing. How does the Ministry send him this letter? They literally send an owl that drops the letter on this lady's head. Really? Like, you're...
Okay, well, we all know the Ministry of Magic is not exactly the smartest of governments.
No, but I'm like, so your idea to condemn this boy of using underage magic is to send an owl and drop the letter on the person's head who he committed the magic in front of. Because you're not doubling down on the magic at this point. You're like, clearly something is going on.
But the Ministry doesn't know who the magic was done in front of. They just know, like... I don't know how much you want me to talk about this, because this is more information that we find out in later books.
Well, you're right, because this is the second part of my rant.
Okay.
Is you have a wizard committing underage magic in front of a Muggle.
Yes.
Well, there's a variety of things that can happen here. It's Harry, like in the zoo, accidentally doing magic that was in front of a whole bunch of Muggles, but no one really noticed. No one noticed that was him that was specifically doing it. Fine, whatever. Didn't get yelled at for that. 2, what constitutes like, obviously the immediate family, and this gets back to a conversation we had last chapter about, like, where do you draw the line as far as who knows and who doesn't know?
Yeah.
Because if your mother and father know that you are, let's say, 13, obviously at Hogwarts, and you are learning magic, can you get away with it because they know you're a wizard?
So this is what I mean by, like, I don't know how much you want me to talk, because the things I want to say to you right now are things that we find out about the Statute of Secrecy and underage magic.
All right, how about we get this? We're going to have a very loaded spoiler section. Because we've already brought up a couple of things that we just want to talk about in the spoilers.
Take note. Don't forget.
Which we will. We'll forget something and we apologize profusely. Yeah. But I guess you'll respond to me in the spoiler section. But this is just a couple of rants that I had reading this where I'm just like, wait. What?
Oh, no, it's completely stupid. It's like, yeah.
It's like Ministry Magic, you're literally doubling down on what he did.
Which he didn't
which is a whole other segment. Yeah. Let's just save it for the spoilers. But those are a couple of rants that I have that I just wanted to go on. Anyway, let's just go to the spoilers. Well, it's fresh in our head, and we can just enjoy the break sound again, and we'll be right back.
Amazing! This is just like magic!
All right, we are in spoilers, which we were just chomping at the bit to get to because we had a whole bunch from this chapter that we just wanted to get into. So we'll just kick it right off where we left off. My Dan rant on underage magic and how the Ministry of Magic made no sense with how they dealt with it. And then I brought up the differentiation between, like, well, if the key is to keep it secret from muggles that aren't aware of it, do parents
are, and this is what I was going to say, parents, it's stated somewhere in one of the books, like, very explicitly, like, the Ministry relies on the parents of underage wizards to enforce the no magic, like,
even muggles,
if not even muggles, because that is the only way they know that, you know, underage magic was done at Privet Drive, because no of age witches or wizards live there. They know Harry Potter is the only wizard in that vicinity. He is underage, therefore underage magic must have been committed. So, like, say Dobby did the hover charm in front of Harry at the Burrow, where there's Molly and Arthur, Harry wouldn't have gotten that letter. He wouldn't have gotten the warning from Mafalda Hopkirk, which, shout out, this is the first time we hear from Mafalda Hopkirk.
That is true.
Who would have known that she becomes a thing? But anyway, like, it would have been up to Harry and Arthur to discipline one of their kids for doing underage magic. There's no way for the Ministry to differentiate between...
Further question, then. Yes. So there's two different types of magic that untrained wizards do. There's the first, second year, literally trying out spells, trying to get better at it with their wands. And then there's the bubbling through of emotions or whatever, and magic just happens. Not necessarily targeted, but it just happens.
Yeah.
How can you blame an underage, untrained wizard to let that go? And then, because that's what this was, essentially, was a non-wand version of magic. So if they really wanted to get down to it and really put Harry on trial, spoiler alert, put Harry on trial for using underage magic, they could go to his wand and see that he clearly did not perform a hover charm.
Yes. Well, and I think that's why he only gets the warning. And then, you know, in Prisoner of Azkaban, it's not like he's put on trial for blowing up his Aunt Marge.
Exactly.
And yes, obviously there were extenuating circumstances in that situation because Sirius Black had escaped. But I think even if they weren't all worried about Sirius Black coming after Harry at the time, I think he still wouldn't have been put on trial for accidentally blowing up his aunt. I think the Ministry, shockingly, is able to use some sorts of logic. I think if enough instances happen, they say maybe, okay, hey, maybe you need to come in and meet with us and we need to look at your wand and see what it is exactly you're doing. are you really just having all these accidental episodes of magic?
So what are your thoughts then on, like, in a Muggle family? Parents are Muggles. This is a Muggle-born wizard or witch. And they're doing magic or whatever, and they're like 13. And it's just...
the ministry would be coming down on them, because the ministry
even
would
if it's
know
just, like, with
they're
their
the
parents?
because they're still practicing underage. Their neighbors
Even though it's
could
not
see or
the
something.
statute of secrecy necessarily that they're
But
breaking.
it is still the statute of secrecy, because what if one of their neighbors sees or something? So, like, that's why, because I think the ministry's point is, you know, until you've grown up and you've come of age, maybe some of the magic you would be doing would be irresponsible and therefore more noticed by Muggles. So they're going to trust, you know, like Molly and Arthur to be doing magic in their home, because they're going to be aware of not letting Muggles see them. Whereas their children maybe not as responsible, so they're relying on Molly and Arthur to make sure that doesn't happen. Muggle-born children, you know, they're just always going to be obvious. They're the ones doing the magic, so the ministry's automatically going to assume it's magic that could be noticed by Muggles. Does that make sense?
It
What
makes
I'm trying
sense.
to say?
No, it makes sense.
The trace is stupid.
I still have issues
Oh, yeah.
with it. I understand what you're saying, though.
I'm with you. I
And
think the
obviously
trace
this is not a
stupid.
perfect, precise thing, because obviously they couldn't tell the difference between a wizard and a house elf.
Yes.
Which gets us to the house elf, which is great infinite cosmic power in an itty bitty little pillowcase. So... You're welcome. So... That's my second Aladdin reference of the day. And
This makes me so happy.
I'm very proud of it. So
That was even better than your first one. Oh my god, I can literally hear Robin. I can hear him.
yeah. You're welcome. But also, like my first one, not entirely untrue. Because house elves are shockingly powerful.
Oh, they're so powerful. They have some magic that wizards and witches don't have.
Mm-hmm.
They can operate in and out of Hogwarts.
They can. And a bunch of other places that they're not supposed to.
Yes.
Wandless magic is very easy and very precise for them.
Mm-hmm. Wands are actually kept from them. It makes you wonder how powerful they would be if they were given wands.
You're right. Grip talks about that in later books, about how they've really... wizards have held down some of the quote-unquote creatures of goblins, house elves, I'm assuming centaurs, if they even wanted to, I don't know, but yeah. So it's heartbreaking to see like such a powerful entity kind of literally being shackled. Yeah. Which is why the genie reference comes to play. So
just like the genie, he's such a kind little soul and is being mistreated by so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Before we get into the family that he's being mistreated by, which was our other big spoiler section commentary, I did want to get to one point of Dobby's message that he has for Harry. And I think we both pulled this in our notes, and we both have questions.
Yes.
And I don't know if we didn't talk in depth. Once we figured out that we both had the same note, we just kind of stopped. So I don't know if it's the same exact note, but anyway. My note is Dobby obviously knows a lot about Harry, and he knows a lot about Dumbledore, he knows a lot about Hogwarts in general, and he knows a lot about this threat that's coming. If he knows that much about all the players involved, wouldn't he technically know that Harry shouldn't be in danger from the threat?
Oh.
Do you know what I'm saying? Well, this is a spoiler section. So the threat. Very big spoilers here. If you really don't want this spoiler, it kind of ruins the book. The Basilisk is going after Muggleborns.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Harry's not that.
Harry is not that, but Dobby knows and tries to give Harry the worst hint of all time. That, at the end of the day, the main person behind the plot is Voldemort, who is always going to be a threat to Harry Potter. I do still think at the heart of, anything to do with the Chamber of Secrets and any sort of artifact that would have anything to do with Voldemort. Like, Dobby knows that diary belonged to a version of Lord Voldemort. So inherently that is going to mean danger to Harry Potter.
It's fair. So it's more not the direct danger, it's the secondary nature of it.
I think Dobby's smart enough to know eventually this is going to lead to something bad enough that it's going to put this great boy in danger.
Okay. Because reading it, I'm like, Harry wouldn't be in direct danger from this threat that's potentially being unleashed. So I'm like,
I had the question, like, what does Dobby think keeping Harry locked up in a Muggle house is going to do to protect him from the danger coming?
I've been critical of Harry at some points of, like, his rashness to go out and do things. Fair. I do understand his anxiety here, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Of, like, I cannot stay here.
Oh, yeah.
I have to get out. I have to get back to Hogwarts. And at this point, again, he doesn't know his broader place in this world yet.
No.
So
he knows it's his world.
Right, but as far as his broader place, he doesn't know his piece of the puzzle yet, so he doesn't know that he has to be at Hogwarts. So it's if he were to stay at the Dursleys because Dobby succeeded, whatever, he got his way and things happened and whatever, and Harry's staying. You don't think Dumbledore would be rolling up to the house, knocking on the door, being like, no, get to school?
That was my actual question, too. Like, where did Dobby really see this going? Like, okay, sure, he got bars put on Harry's window. Awesome. Even if Ron hadn't come, did we really think Harry was going to be allowed to,
100%.
not come back
Harry
to school?
doesn't know that, hence his anxiety.
Well...
But, yeah, there's no way he's not going back to Hogwarts. Let's just dismiss that idea.
I think that's also just, building on his anxieties that he's already been feeling all throughout summer, too. Was the last year of my life real? Did I make best friends with Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger? Did I defeat Voldemort?
Also,
where did all of it go?
That taste of what your life can be and what it could be and all of the splendid, wondrous nature of it, and then you get ripped back to a different reality, and now you're just starving for that taste back again. Mm-hmm. Man, that's a lot to kind of deal with.
Yeah.
And then the letters just adds so much to it. But yeah, again, really, Dobby, you're gonna hold him? No. It's never going to happen.
Cute little lovely friend, but no.
Good attempt, but it was never going to happen. That would not have gotten 2 days in without
But he's trying so hard. I feel like he's just doing whatever he can think of to protect Harry. And has anybody really tried to protect Harry since his mother and father died?
Hagrid. I would argue Hagrid. Literally, he swept him up from the house and took him to...
on orders, I guess.
Clearly, he didn't want to do it. Him sobbing, giving the really twisted his arm there. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying though. Again, because my take on Dumbledore, trying not to protect him for sure. So,
good Lord.
Anyway, so let's just move right into Dobby and his family, because that was a big spoiler that we wanted to save for now. Obviously, it's the Malfoy family.
Yeah.
Which, knowing that. These kind of things that he's letting go in this conversation with Harry just kind of perks my attention a little bit while reading it and being like, well, what exactly are the Malfoys saying about Dumbledore? What are they saying about Harry? What are they saying about, what had they said about the night Voldy disappeared?
Yeah.
All those conversations since, Lucius going into a more corporate thing from being a Death Eater. Yeah. How that transition go.
Have there been other Death Eater, former Death Eaters in the Malfoy house that he's been privy to those conversations?
What they're going to do without him there? how they're going to proceed.
Fascinating stuff, but I'm also just like imagining him like, okay, the reason he knows that Ron and Hermione are his best friends is because all of the petty little rants that Draco has been going on all summer. You know it's been happening.
Dad, there are these kids. I hate them. Like, yeah, that's probably...
The Lucius conversations are much more interesting, but the petty rants are funnier.
I could see Malfoy talking more about Ron and Hermione than Crabbe and Goyle over the summer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, Crabbe and Goyle, bless them, but they're not that interesting. They're just not. And
I didn't know
Malfoy
you
knows
could
it.
read.
Yeah, so it's just interesting to kind of imagine what those conversations were kind of like and how they spoke of those moments, spoke of Harry. Clearly they've done it a lot for him to pick up on so much. Also, what their motivations exactly are with the diary. They know it's a strong magical object.
Yes.
But they don't know how strong. Protected. Yeah, they don't know how strong it is or what exactly it is. Are they even 100% aware it's even a key almost to the Chamber of Secrets?
That I think they do know. Because I think that was the whole goal. Well, I think the goal was twofold. I think they wanted to open the Chamber of Secrets and cause some mass chaos at Hogwarts. Cause Dumbledore some problems, because Malfoy obviously hates Dumbledore. Then I also feel like Lucius just wanted to get rid of this connection to Voldemort. Like, it was clearly Tom Riddle's diary. I don't think he wanted that piece of guilt, like, that could... I mean, obviously it would have thrown him immediately into Azkaban for him to be in possession of such an item.
He should have been there anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I get his excuses for not, or being coerced, or being imperious, or whatever his excuses ended up being. It was one of those two. Should have been there anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But, yes, I agree. I also agree with about 95% of what you just said.
Okay.
Chaos, for sure. I think they definitely wanted the chaos. I think they definitely wanted Dumbledore out from the chaos. I don't know... And this is where I differ. I don't know if they're 100% sure that chaos comes from a basilisk in the basement.
Well, no, I don't think they know the basilisk. But I think they know it belonged to Tom Riddle. Like, because obviously Dobby knows Tom Riddle. That's that horrible hint he was trying to give Harry. And then I think when Voldemort gave it to Lucius, it was as a, like, someday this will reopen the Chamber of Secrets. Keep it safe. And I think that's literally all Lucius knew and was told. I don't know where I got that idea from, but I feel very strongly about it. Like, I feel
that's the 5% that I waver from you on. I don't know. I don't know if I... And you know why I waver from you in that? I don't know. I don't give Lucius enough credit for that. Like, I don't give him, like, enough... I get he was high up on that chain. He was the top of the chain, wasn't he? At some point considered?
He was majorly
near
high up, yeah.
Top 3, let's say.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. So he was in the higher up circle. And I think, as obviously Voldy ends up learning, not worthy of being there. You're just not quality enough to be there.
No, but I think who he is married to, she's smart. Narcissa, I think, could have worked that out. Like, I think everything Lucius knew, even if Narcissa was not part of those conversations, he told every single word to her. And I think she's smart enough and she has the brains enough to figure out, like, dude,
interesting.
I think this is the key or whatever.
Interesting. In a future episode, I want to double back on Narcissa because I think that's a fascinating character to kind of deep dive on at some point. That marriage of the two of them just screams politics.
Oh, yeah.
It's
that's
a political
marriage,
yes,
right there,
100%.
Totally, yeah.
That's a fascinating discussion that we should have for a later time. Also, Helen McCrory.
Oh, R.I.P.
Yes, rest in peace. Passed away the last year. Played Narcissa in the movies, as well as a number of other roles that she's had. I liked her in Peaky Blinders. I thought she was great in that too. But anyway, that's a sidetrack. But yeah, no, the role of Narcissa, I think, is a good deep dive at some point in the future that we should probably double back on at some point.
For sure. You know what question I did
Yeah.
think of? We talked a lot about Dobby and his compulsion to harm himself.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he ever really healed from that before, the worst thing ever happens? Because I feel like, yes, he becomes confident, yes, he becomes strong, but I was just,
No, that's a lot of
I know.
and I don't even know how old he is at that point.
No, I don't know either.
I don't know
just
the
feel
lifespans
I
of
feel like
house
he's
elves,
still
but-
scared of the Malfoys. I feel like sometimes it's still hard for him to not punish himself and not injure himself, even when he's,
Anna, you're towards the end of this episode. You're delving into deep psychiatric
I know.
issues.
Sorry, I do that.
It's fine. That's fine. No, I don't think he's recovered from that per se, because it's a lot. That's a lot of ingrained behavior to kind of overcome. And you can see it from time to time when Harry says something or when somebody else says something and he doesn't do it and then he tries to punish himself for it.
Yeah.
So
and Harry's still so used to just kind of like stopping Dobby. Like by the end, Harry just like automatically stops him before he can, and like Dobby will like thank him.
yeah, so I think it's still ingrained in him, the idea of loyalty to a family and the idea of him having to injure himself.
Mm-hmm.
And how those are two aspects of being a house elf. If it's literally in their biological nature, like as a magical creature, this is what
they're biological.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Is at what point in history did wizards then
Yeah,
enslave house elves
Yeah.
and make that their purpose, for lack of a better term?
Yeah.
I think that's the actual nature of it.
Yeah.
Is that happened at some point in history, and then that's just this is the fallout from it, however long it's been, centuries, I'd assume.
Yeah.
So I guess it comes down to that. But then if it's just you're enslaved part, now you have the addition of, well, if you disobey, now you have to punish yourself. Is that part of the initial like magic to enslave them, or is that?
I think that is family specific, because we meet other house elves eventually. We meet Winky and we meet Hokey, I think is Hepzibah Smith's house elf. And I never got the sense of Hokey doing any punishment. And Winky never punished herself, like did like self-harm. She was just so ashamed of being released from her family.
It could
that
be.
That's when she spiraled. And
it could be wizard family specific.
Yeah.
It could also be wizards family specific in that they either enforce the behavior or they don't. Like they foster an environment where that's not even necessary because they don't have to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
No, I do.
For example, like if Harry and Ginny had a house elf, I think it would be a much more loving environment where they didn't the house elf would never have to feel like they.
Well, Harry and Ginny would never say, "Go punish yourself."
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of family.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of environment.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the Dursleys and Dudley. It's like, get Dudley away from that environment. You might be better. Same thing, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing here. But
well, look at Creature and how different Creature is when he's removed from Mrs. Black. And even, Sirius treating him so horribly.
That's an interesting case, though, because Sirius treated him poorly. Yeah. But the Black family as a whole, I don't think treated him all that poorly.
Didn't treat him poorly, but ingrained some pretty terrible thoughts.
They weren't
head.
great people.
Yeah, exactly.
But they didn't specifically treat him badly.
Great elf,
right.
So, but remove him from those not great people, and Creature was leading the house elf charge at the Battle of Hogwarts.
Yeah. So I mean,
so that's what I just mean. Like
that's a fascinating case that I do want to get to when we get there,
There's
because
gonna be a lot of
it's a
creature
really
talk.
fascinating kind of dynamic that
sure.
kind of turns some things on its head, which is interesting. But wow, okay, that was a lot of add on to House Elf Psychology. This has been House Elf Psychology 101.
You're welcome.
Yes.
I think about Dobby a lot.
As you should. I was literally going to base my opinion of the 7th movie, part 2, based on if they had something related to Dobby in it or not, specifically. And thank goodness they had it right out the gate in the first 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
And I literally relaxed myself and I was like, I'm okay with this movie now. We can proceed.
Oh my God, stop. I'm ready to cry just thinking about it.
And on that note, we are going to stop the podcast. Check us out at HogwartsAPod on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me specifically at Daniel_Allen44 on both of those.
Come fight with me in the comments on Twitter and maybe now Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope you're enjoying this. Please engage with us, talk with us, read along with us. We like to hear everybody's thoughts. So with that, we will see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to Hogwarts, a podcast. If you like what you've heard, please click the subscribe button on your preferred podcasting app and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at HogwartsAPod.